Please sit down. Hello everyone, I'm Billy. So on my table, as you can see, there are 7 cars that I'm currently playing with. I've played with each one, some of them more frequently and some less. I will share with you which one, any one, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and what are the things to pay attention to. So which 7 are they? First, there's the Yokomo MS1.0. Next, there's the Zero Ultra version 2.0. The previously mentioned SP1, the RC maker of SP1. The Russian one, actually not Russian, the automatic A800R. The TRF421 from Shuangxing. The Schumacher Mi9. And the X25 X425 that I just played with. First, let me clarify that I have no connection with any of these 7 vehicles. If it's good, I'll go into more detail. And if it's not, I'll explain it clearly to everyone. There will be no conflict of interest whatsoever. First, let's talk about the Yokomo MS1.0. Recently, I disassembled the mold, so it might be a bit difficult to compare the weight with everyone later. I won't mention the weight, as it's actually the same as other cars. Why did I disassemble the mold? Because I need to know what's good and what's not about this car. I'm not very good at playing with molds, so I decided not to bother with this one. Is there anything wrong with it? First of all, if you look at the transmission gearbox, as you can see, it doesn't have any support in the middle. It's clearly using a metal frame in a downward U shape. So if you really bite into this car, you'll find the belt is loose. This means that when driving, there's a higher chance of the belt jumping. This issue is present even in Disney's models, because their mold seats don't have horizontal metal supports, which I think is problematic. Another issue is with the hydraulic frame, which I recently saw has been modified in the world competition. The rear hydraulic frame is embedded on a carbon plate, and this carbon plate is quite thick now. I think it's about 3 mm thick. But if you really press down like a slingshot, you will slightly see the carbon plate bend upwards, which means at that moment, your rear is not fully relying on the hydraulic and slingshot, but is also slightly acting on the carbon plate. In the recent World Championship, the MS1.0 seems to have a metal frame directly inserted into the hydraulic part, thus avoiding the issue with the carbon plate. This is a problem I discovered. What other drawbacks are there? I think it's the 4 pieces underneath. The lower swing arm is somewhat shorter. It extends from here, while most vehicles already have it extended from this point. I prefer a long swing arm. If some people think a long swing arm is better, looking at the trend, all vehicles with longer swing arms seem to be better, and more vehicles might choose this option. But it's particularly short. If you remember seeing it, it extends from here to here, which is very short. I think this is slightly less ideal. But what are the advantages of this car? The advantage of this car, I think, is that these arms are quite good, because they really have no play, yet they are smooth. This is a benefit I discovered when I was disassembling it. Another advantage I found is that with Yokomo, starting from the MS BD11 and BD12 models, or perhaps even earlier models, you can adjust the belt tension directly without having to disassemble the gear fork. Right here, There's also here at this position, by tightening it forcefully, there is a spring and a ball bearing, so you can adjust it from the outside. Some vehicles require, most vehicles need to remove this screw, remove the teeth fork comes out, then you can twist it. Belt tension, which might cause you to have to readjust the tweak of your car, because after loosening and retightening those screws, you might find that the camber might have some movement. If you don't want the camber to move and still want to adjust the belt tension, then Yokomo has this unique design, which I haven't seen in other vehicles so far. Another special feature of this vehicle is that it is still supported by carbon plates for the hydraulic pressure. The front hydraulic is done this way, only Schumacher does it like this. Among the other 6 vehicles I mentioned earlier, apart from Schumacher, none of them have carbon plates at the front. This carbon plate is quite interesting as it is split into 2 sides, allowing you to adjust so that if one side is lower, it won't affect the other side. So is it separated in the middle? This can be left for a moment. A more traditional design, the sensors work fine. Because of this, you can choose the timing to change the angle of the high hydraulic pressure. Most other vehicles use a medium method if you pay close attention. The rear end is set relatively high, so it compensates more in that area. The advantage is that there's less movement. Don't bounce around. There are also fewer opportunities to dance. But the downside is that it might not be as smooth. If you're into percussion, you might feel frustrated, etc. because it's so high. You might have some issues, and the right gear ratio is just about right. The pure ratio is the same. It's 20 feet, along with a head and brow of 38. So its ratio is also 1.9. And what about the belt? For example, the 31 mm that comes with it can be used. I have many friends who use Yokomo's belt. Other vehicles have a thinner belt which makes them smoother. If your horse isn't very strong, you might find that its belt is prone to slipping, so you end up packing in so many grains each time. What are some of the available carbon plates that can be used for your classic car? There is a variety of options. Carbon board. I think this is quite reliable for the nimble mouth. And when raised, you can see the lowest roll bar. If it finally lowers, the roll bar is just perfect. Even though it might give you something, I've been through it. And luckily I have a bear with good intentions to help on both sides. There are many corresponding drivers like May Bomb. In or May, John Hanks is on the pump stick. That car is again Lu Yi because the car will bump stick. The reason? It's because it's high bearing. Left position is quite awkward, so it needs to connect the medium inside, just a higher medium. On the outside, more space is needed so that the wave head can press down the heart to plant bump stick. If not, there can be a small pump. What is bump stick? It's just a drop. It's more only Mei Junheng's friends have it. Those who like bombing also like bump stick or like to lead, meaning wherever you go, it won't affect my direction. Without that projection angle, there are many without projection angles. People all like it. If it's black, it's just 2 lines, then 2 lines, 3 lines, then 3 lines. It won't change all the way. If it follows a car, what is the default setting? Or what dish is it called? There are specific terms. With bomb stick, I have one. Here it turns into D. Here it involves more D, especially for certain car enthusiasts. Another very special design is that within the hydraulic system, there is something labeled bearing. Each hydraulic system has a bearing, and the purpose is to ensure that when we need to enter, the slingshot can rotate smoothly. I also think this design doesn't have much use. I've never seen a vehicle that needs to rotate a slingshot like this. Even if your slingshot doesn't rotate, when you press it down, you would rarely introduce it to others, and it wouldn't need to be so exaggerated. Knowing that a bearing is a design issue, why is it necessary to have something like this? Look down. Another rather unique design is a motor, a serve on the left, which should convince you that it is hanging two water pumps above. These water pumps are suspended in the air and do not touch the base plate. I don't know if any car enthusiast would like this, but I feel it doesn't have much use. However, some people say it's very important whether the steering is independent, so you really need to consider whether you would choose this vehicle for these reasons. Because this design is rarely seen in other vehicles, I'm curious. None of the other 6 do it this way, with 2 water pumps hanging above. Yokomo was the first to have it. Another unique design is its head bar, which has a drawer. So for those who want airflow functionality, you might choose this car because of it. The only good thing about this car is that you can find empty spaces through the holes. Otherwise, finding empty spaces through the holes wouldn't allow air to flow under the car. And with less air under the car, it helps to compress the vehicle. So real cars have similar designs, where the front of the car already draws air inside. When the pressure below is a bit lower and the pressure on top is a bit higher, it helps to compress the vehicle. Think about it yourself. Is there a need for this? I almost forgot what I'm talking about is the car's large flat teeth, which have some limitations. Many people who have played with this car will find there are some things they don't like. For example, this large flat tooth originally comes as a 90 large flat tooth 64 pitch. You'll find that 90 is almost the most accurate. If it gets any bigger, it will be too high. And I don't like it being so close to the ground. Being that close to the ground means there's a high chance of stones getting in, which then makes a prick-plack sound and looks very ugly. Some friends say they really like these large flat teeth, especially when playing with turbo, 110 or even larger. They absolutely, incredibly enjoy it. If the flat tooth is that small, the motor has to be even finer. The downside is that since both gears are very fine, the wear and tear situation is more severe because you have fewer gear teeth to withstand the friction. The advantage is that the motor is relatively forward. If you want the same gear ratio, your motor will be positioned more forward. For a machine like this, with the motor more forward, the center of gravity is closer to the middle, which has both advantages and disadvantages. I estimate that if you use this car for bringy, there are some advantages because you can use a smaller pinion gear and a larger motor gear or a standard motor gear, which gives you a better ratio and the motor doesn't need to be as thick. However, if we are playing with modified cars, many people prefer a larger gear ratio with much larger pinion gears and much smaller motor gears, which makes it more challenging here. Your options for gear ratios are more limited. I remember when I played with this car, its 4 springs were red, and some people felt that the springs at the back were relatively stiffer. The reason is that the top support position is really close to the bearing path, so when you press down, the springs feel very stiff. So after buying the big golden dragon, I had a friend come over to adjust the car, and the second wheel of the Maylin wasn't as stiff anymore. This was because the support position was moved out. Some friends might have played with the Maidan Palace from Hyundai and flipped the Thunder, which is a bit old. So I arranged a combination for them to play with the car, and it felt like it was parked with the original setup. I felt that it was fast, but it still needed to turn. Selling will fill up a part, so if you finally make a turn, it will be difficult for bad people to make a choice. But if you manage to do it quickly, even if you're neurotic, it's fine. I really oppose doing things in a neurotic way. Here it's good to handle a certain turn without doing it the original way. Also, I bought a small one. These small ones are okay, but you guys are sweating cold sweat and have lowered it well. Will the next generation still take this vehicle with them? Mi9, I am a certain robot player, Mi 8, playing around with things and robots quickly. Some are also well designed. Hey everyone, my feet can play too. When I see the best place for me, only then will I go to something very special. With the monkey head vehicle, in the middle, one gets up and still loses, so they have to wear a belt. The number of belts is still 10, so where is that? What about beauty? Can you recite a poem so it becomes a series? About 1.8, around this level, how strange is it? 1.9, still a bit short of 10. There is no pressure back, and what benefits does it bring? With a low price, you can still take away a belt, and the slightly larger one will be relatively bigger. Those features are still comfortable. But what if they have tension like Yushihua? You can also receive a high friction fee. What about this car? I remember checking how to push the motor, and indeed there was no saving. This hasn't been denied yet. However, due to the difficulty of hitting there, it can be a bit challenging in the middle of the Bolivian hook, with the center of gravity slightly higher at the front. From every angle of the car, it's because we need to lower the hook a bit for high altitudes. If you're not skilled at playing, you might still play. On concrete ground, you might need to lower the hook, like the angle difference at this position might be noticeable, but it's not a problem. Another unique aspect is that when you are about to move forward, the middle part is opened up by a bun, and we have to guess a little and aim at its height or unease. So if I want to do it, I find that piece of meat. Really, buddy, you really have to take it down one by one, and finally, Donglu gave it to you. You have to believe that if this is the case, then AI will not hesitate to guard it. There is still an opportunity with another loyal country, and the fast part is that you can jam it with a fork. And also rushing a direct report to those parts of carbon, then the leader on top is light and low. It's not easy to get a car with SP. Once you have it, it will be given, and the driver won't be driven away. If he just said he could be driven out and that it's good, he shouldn't bring more when I say others are fast here. I assume I'm missing these two pieces. Surprisingly, it's still quite different and might relate to me in terms of the method. The place is really a bit lacking. But I managed to do it. It needs to be fast. At this point, we need to return to the country quickly within 3 years. After returning, he changed it again, and there was no problem giving it to the colonel. We slowly lifted the fishing hook, which consumed our energy. The blooming was spent, and we had to go shopping, and the expenses became apparent. Surprisingly, Zhang Yuan, later everyone started talking about Zhang Yuan. Naturally, things became different. This would affect the different brothers around. If you can't even keep one car steady, and if it goes low and doesn't run well, what reason would you feel? What should be done about it? Everyone bought it and played it down. Some people went a little bit too far, telling us that $1 and $3 are the same. The advanced ones are $3 and $1 and $2. I didn't go there for those years. Maybe I should be grateful for these different water houses. You can buy one or two thick ones or two thin ones. I believe that they all have an impact. In addition, I want to mention the fast beauty. Give Aju 2 quick boards for medical treatment. How come some vehicles can be independent on both sides? Which station won't go to read? Then this means it's time to quickly buy a car. As for old hay, both sides can still have small glasses. In terms of cars, there are more other cars, so let the quick ones get the hang of it. After both sides take it away, what else can be done? So finally, there is a chance to promote A-Ban. If it can finally move besides both sides, it really needs to be organized for a living. It can be sold quickly, but it won't be easy to handle. This can be considered on your own. It quickly sprouts, and in various cold places, there is an L-shaped thing that comes inside to the cold place, where it is busy with Lei Aoyi. I come from the bottom compartment, but such a big one will be inside. What's going on? What about our group? I don't know for now because I'm hanging onto some iron crutches given by a brutal beating. If the benefits quickly collapse and spread, and if the benefits of many vehicles quickly follow and spread, what else can be done? Why use it quickly like a fish when there are 6 others, not 6, and Rossi still has it? Sim will quickly spread. Why open your mouth so little? Is that good? You wouldn't know. Why, I already know how profound this is. It should be okay to lead us more. The feeling of MI8, the feeling of Man 7. Rushing a big memory back, but it really depends on whether everyone cares or not. It can be left standing, and there are differences with MI8, giving MI8 a role to breathe higher, and also comparing it with MI9. Whose problem is it, Mina? You take that angle first, Mom. Then it will tempt you to reminisce after these exchanges. I also don't remember well, but it seems that your waves are easier to get spicy later, although yours can also be spicy. But still, when I get fired up, my buddies and I just play when we pass by. Ahem, how spectacular am I? Is there any chance to catch a ride or not? Later, the reason can arrive on time. What's up with the front of the car? Alright, next. Let me walk alone on this side. I will walk to other lanes and see if they dare to let us pass. Is there a car that hasn't crossed the line to move for you? I'm leading. My family hasn't really played with this car yet. Not sure what kind of superstition it is. I just wander around, so I won't let go of the right. Alright, I took some cold medicine and my car broke down. Ha ha. He was pulled away by a machine. And in the forest of anomalies, there is a kind of thunder that is relatively complete, approaching the intensity of those combined. Try to get as close as possible to the support level, and after catching a cold, just singing a single note is enough. When I get close to the support level, it's unclear and vague, and I'm about to receive it quickly. And in the middle, will this cause any issues? In the eyes, there's a slight dryness and a hint of spirit on the board. Are there any small buildings? Hurry up and consider it well yourself. Are you following me? Take a break and relax. Once there was a sarcastic remark, I might need to go and discuss it one by one, and they were all brought in. The rest of the layout is similar to other cars, nothing special. So I've already benefited from that support level. This support level has the potential to be a high support level. So the last time I played, I didn't get high here, but I noticed that this support level is relatively thick. My carbon board naturally extended a bit, both front and back. When you really need to drive fast, these areas might be the first to get high. Similarly, these areas also have the potential to get high, and once they do, losing them won't be an issue. However, if these two areas are lost, it might affect those two screws. Another thing to mention is the slingshot that comes with it. The slingshot is progressive, meaning it's gradual, not linear. I don't even know the degree of this yellow one, because I'm not familiar with the data from Songmi. But it seems like the previous hydraulic pressure wasn't this short, so now that this car is a bit older, you should have gone through all the slingshots. You can buy, I remember you can buy up to 10 different hardness levels. Some are progressive and some are not as progressive, not sure. Yeah, that's what I remember. Is that right? I remember there was a driver, a local driver, who started playing with this new car and immediately switched to X-ray short slingshots, those XLP slingshots from X-ray. He said it was alright, and it was easier to understand what was happening. If you're used to it, if you play with X-ray, you might consider the rear to be 2.6 or 2.7, at most reaching 2.8. The front should be between 2.5 to 2.8, which is more standard, and there shouldn't be any issues on the road. However, its claim to fame is that the hydraulic pressure is very short, which is what makes this car unique. Currently, it should be the second shortest, apart from the X-ray. 25, this hydraulic pressure should be the second shortest. If you like short hydraulic pressure, then naturally it has a low center of gravity, which is a selling point. Additionally, it's indeed important to mention this universal joint, which has a large clamp, a C-shaped clamp that holds it firmly in place here. I remember there was a driver from Hong Kong. When he was playing with it, a real driver came and he pulled this clamp, pulling the entire universal joint, and I was with everyone, just with, so I play with another one. The same person who played with the car said it was completely fine. If you do it well, clamping it back firmly is not a problem. So when doing this, please be careful everyone. After pressing it down, check if it's in the right position. You can use some force to clamp it back firmly to make it fit back in. Honestly, I've played with it and it doesn't pull, but you need to pay attention to this. Additionally, the universal ones all use those cup handle designs. This design is very similar to the one used by Goose, and now many cars are made this way. X-Ray, Goose, and Song Media all have two cup handles on both sides with a square frame in the middle. That square frame also has a pushing function, so if there's a lot of force, the square frame will move, preventing the cup handles from having issues. This design is relatively good. Its steering cup handles are made of plastic. Some brands use plastic, while others use metal, so pay attention to that. Plastic ones are of course lighter, but they also fit the cup handles better. The downside is that there's a chance they might get bitten or enlarged after a collision, so be mindful of that. Additionally, there's a one-piece second floor board. Some people feel the need to use a split second floor board. You can pay attention to this, as it has the advantage that each hole position has a small amount of metal. If you use a split second floor board, you'll find that the floor holes won't be affected or interfere with your floor holes. Not many motor mounts have such a design. Some will separate the metal, making your split second floor board smoother. After playing with this car for what seems like 1 or 2 battery charges, it feels exactly the same as the Yokomo MS. I also feel that it lacks a bit of stability. Both of these cars are like that, so I quickly stopped playing with them. That doesn't mean these two cars aren't good. Maybe you can play well with them in your area, or you know how to set them up, but I didn't have enough time to press on with it. But if you're talking about something that's safe from the start, then it shouldn't be these two cars, I suppose.